3. A firm decision takes you across to final safety.
What is nischay or determined decision? Nischay means no matter how powerful an army of worldly difficulties arises with attacks, you would not back off. No matter how many different types of inner appeals and lawyers come to change your understanding, you would remain firm. Once you have made a firm decision, you would not change it. That is called a nischay. What is nischay? It is to stop all other thoughts and come on to only one thought. For example, that you definitely want to go to the station from here, and from the station you want to go by train and not by bus. Hence, if you make a firm decision, all the evidences for going by train will come together and make it happen. If your decision is not firm, then the evidences will not come together and your goal will not be accomplished.
Does the timing change with firm decision?
All the timings change with a firm decision. This gentleman was saying, I will most probably come, but you go ahead if I am not here on time. I realized that his was a hollow decision, and hence evidences for him will be such that he may not be able to accomplish whatever he set out to do.
Who breaks our firm decision, Dada?
It is your own ego. It is the ego that is with attachment, the deluded ego.
Is the deceptive intent a weakness in the resolution?
It is not a weakness. It is not a decision at all. Weaknesses can be removed. But here, there is no decision present at all to begin with.
Dada, if the intent for brahmacharya is not weak or deceptive, then would the thoughts of sexuality completely stop coming?
No, let the thoughts come. What is wrong with thoughts? The thoughts will never stop. We do not want any weak intent. There must be a strong opposition to any sexual enticing within. How dare such thoughts arise? If you make a man who has not slept for 4 days sit on the edge of a well, if he is determined not to fall into a well, he would not. He would remain awake. You will succeed in achieving your goal of attaining brahmacharya with your absolute firm decision coupled with my ajna, provided there is no wavering in that decision. My ajna will guide you wherever you go, and you must never abandon your vow ever. If a thought of sex arises, then keep on cleansing it, that is, by doing pratikraman for half an hour at a time by saying, why are these thoughts still coming? And never initiate the sexual look with anyone. He who wants to practice brahmacharya must not look with sexual intent at anyone. The slightest touch of the hand to a woman can shake this firm decision. It will not allow you to sleep. Such are the atoms of the female sex. Therefore, the act of touching must never take place. And if you were careful about preserving the purity of your vision, then your firm decision should not waver.
If a person's firm decision about practicing brahmacharya wavers, then is it because of the effect of the wavering inner intent of his previous life?
No, that is not the case. It is because his nischay is not nischay. He has not made a firm decision. This is not a result of previous life, and this so-called firm decision that he had made was done by watching others doing it. It wavers because it is done out of going along with others around him. Why don't you get married instead? What do you have to lose? At least you will help some girl get settled. There can never be an exception in brahmacharya because man's mind is looking for a loophole, and wherever there is a slightest hole, the mind makes it larger.
Dada, what tendencies of the chit are working within when a person searches for a loophole?
It is the mind that is working and not the tendencies of the chit. It is the nature of the mind to search for loopholes.
Dada, how can one stop mind from looking for loopholes?
With nischay, a firm, unflinching decision. How can it look for a loophole if your decision is firm? If your decision is firm, then nobody can find a loophole. Just like a person who has made a firm decision of not eating meat will not eat meat.
So, should we have a firm decision in every matter?
A firm decision is what makes everything work.
after realizing the self, does one need nischay in relative matters?
You, the self, do not have to keep the firm decision, do you? You have to tell Chandresh to make the firm decision and preserve it properly. If one needs to ask questions about this, then he is searching for loopholes. Therefore, whenever there's a need to ask these kinds of questions, tell him, that is Chandresh, be quiet. Tell him to get out so he will become quiet. Everything will disappear the moment you say, get out.
How is it going with you?
When such a circumstance arises someday, then one of the seeds of sex sprouts. But I instantly placed the 3 vision on it. Is that correct, Dada?
Would one not die if he drowns in the river just once? Or would he have to drown daily to die? Is there any problem left if one dies by drowning in the river just once? Is the river going to lose anything? Authors of the scriptures have called a single act of brahmacharya a death. Die if you have to, but do not lose brahmacharya. If awareness does not remain when the force of karma unfolds, recite loudly the sentences of Gnan to bring back the awareness and confront the karmas. That is called an extraordinary effort or parakram. To invoke the energies of the self, that is Atma Shakti or Swavirya, is called extraordinary effort or parakram. Nobody has any power against parakram. Your awareness will be in proportion to your sincerity. This I am giving you as an aphorism, that is sutra, and with such clarification that even a little boy can understand. This is science. Your progress depends upon your sincerity, and that sincerity can take you to moksha. The fruit of sincerity is morality.
The other day you were saying that even in youth there is a ridge point. So what is this ridge point?
Ridge point means right at its peak. Where is the ridge of a roof? It is at the top. When the youth reaches the ridge point, at that moment everything topples over. If one passes through this, then he's a winner. I will look after everything, but if he changes his mind, then there is no cure. That is why I teach him before the karma unfolds to walk with his eyes looking down. Do not look at a woman. He can enjoy everything else. We cannot give you any guarantees because you are in your youth.
4. When the thoughts of sexuality torment.
Someday, when a sexual thought sprouts and it lingers on, then you have to do a massive pratikraman, a long, continuous pratikraman. You must get rid of the thought as soon as it sprouts.
5. Do not be guided by your mind.
You should never proceed as guided by your mind. If the mind says according to what the Gnan says, then one may adjust accordingly. If it goes against what our Gnan says, then you must stop it. Look how wise Kabir was when he said 400 years ago that the one who lets his mind rule his actions loses everything. Was Kabir not wise? People are governed by their minds. If your mind says, get married to this person, does that mean you have to get married?
No, that cannot happen, Dada.
What will you do when the mind still says that? You will have to remain strong if you want to practice brahmacharya. The mind can say anything and it will make you say the same. That is why I was saying that tomorrow morning you would run away. What is the reason for this? How can you trust the one who is dictated by his mind?
Now, I would not run away from here.
Oh, but what guarantee is there that a man who is governed by his mind will not run away from here? Here, if I scold you for 2 days, then you would leave on the 3rd day. You do know this. How can you trust your mind? At the moment, your mind helps you by telling you it is not worth getting married. There are too many problems in marriage. It is your mind that first shows you this principle, which you have decided through your mind and not through Gnan. It is the mind that showed you the principle to do this.
If the firm decision was made through Gnan, then the mind would not go against you, would it, Dada?
No, it would not. The foundation for firm decisions or nischay made through Gnan is different. All their foundations are like RCC, that is, reinforced cement concrete, while the others, like those made by the mind, are like those made out of mixture of gravel and concrete, non-reinforced, which are prone to crack.
6. One should scold oneself.
Look, this man has severely reprimanded himself, threatened himself. It was worth seeing how he was scolding himself and crying at the same time.
You know, Dada, once I reprimanded Chandresh 2 or 3 times and made him cry too. He also told me that this would not happen again, and yet it happens.
Yes, that will happen, but you have to keep on talking to him. You have to keep on telling him, and that will keep on happening too. By talking, you remain detached from him. You do not become one with the non-self. You have to keep scolding as if he's a neighbor. By keeping on doing that, it will come to an end, and all the files will be over too. Would they not? If a thought about sex arises, you have to say, it's not me. It is not a part of you. You need to scold the one who has it.
Dada, the experiment that you show us about doing samek to place in front of the self by looking in the mirror and talking to the prakriti, the complex of thought, speech, and acts, all feels very good for 2 or 3 days, but later the weaknesses return.
If weaknesses set in, start all over again. Weaknesses will set in with time. The nature of the pudgal or physical self is such that it deteriorates with time, and therefore it should be refreshed by innovative ways and adjustments and brought back into order.
Therefore, one is to achieve the end of the experiment by sticking to it. In reality, this does not happen, and the experiment is discontinued halfway through, Dada.
It is achieved by persistent application. It will not happen immediately.
7. Pratikraman with true repentance.
Dada, sometimes I feel lazy and get bored in performing so many pratikramans because there are so many to do all of a sudden.
Yes, this is the problem with apratikraman. This happens because pratikramans were not done at the time the mistakes happened. By doing the pratikraman right away, the fault will not arise again.
Dada, when can you say that the cloth has been washed properly?
When you do pratikraman, you yourself will feel that it has been washed properly.
Should you feel remorse internally, Dada?
The remorse must remain. The remorse must remain until your work, that is liberation, is done. You just have to keep watching if he is remorseful or not. You have to do your work and he will do his.
All this is very sticky, but some change is occurring.
Whatever kind of fault was filled is what comes out. But this will be emptied in 5, 10, or 12 years. And then the tank will be all cleared. Then it will be clean, and then you are free and everything.
Once the seed has been sown, it will bring forth its fruit. Will it not, Dada?
The seeds are sown. It will bear fruit. But as long as the roots have not taken a firm hold, there will be some change in the intensity of the fruit. Therefore, before that, one can change the result to come and be cleansed of it. That is why we say to a person who has a lot of sexual faults or any other faults to fast on Sunday and keep thinking about the faults and cleansing them whole day. If this is done with my Agnya, the faults will decrease.
Dada, how do we do Samek Pratikaman for matters related to sexual indulgence and impulses?
You have to do pratikraman for all the mistakes that have occurred till today and make a firm decision not to repeat those mistakes in the future.
What if we keep seeing the same mistakes over and over when doing Samek, Dada?
Ask for forgiveness as long as you keep seeing mistakes. Ask for forgiveness, do repentance and pratikraman with remorse over it.
Dada, just now when I sat in Samek, why did I keep seeing the same things over and over again?
That will come as long as those atoms are still there within you. What problem does that cause you anyway?
Dada, does it mean that they keep coming because they have not been cleansed properly?
No. That stock is there and will remain for a very long time. It will remain for about tens of years. But you have to persevere to remove it all.
This science of uprooting the two-leaf sapling of sexual thought, is it such that on doing this sincerely, one will win and attain lasting brahmacharya?
Yes, but sex is such a thing that if you get involved in it, you will lose the awareness of the self. Therefore, this tuber is harmful. When the tuber of sexuality sprouts, the result is the sexual impulse, and it is like a two-leaf sapling. Generally, the impulse is so strong that one becomes engrossed in it, becomes one with it. This engrossment is called Vishay. It cannot be called Vishay without being engrossed in it. There should be so much awareness when this tuber sprouts as a sapling of sexual impulse that if you uproot and discard it, just like discarding the thought as soon as it arises, you would not become engrossed in it. Then it will not touch you. Then the tuber still exists and may sprout again and again when the circumstances are right. When the tuber is finally gone, dissolved, no impulses of sexuality will arise within, and your goal of brahmacharya will be attained.
So, the interaction of worldly attraction of sex does not exist once the tuber of sex is dissolved?
That interaction will stop. The relationship between a needle and a magnet would stop. This relation is only there because of these tubers of sexuality carried over from the past life. Sexuality is gross, overt, and of the body, whereas the self is beyond anything, that is, the subtlest. It is very difficult to maintain this awareness, and therefore engrossment in sex happens. It is only the Gnani Purush who can maintain this awareness continuously. No one else can. The tuber of sexuality is very huge, and there is a great need to dissolve it. And for that purpose, this unique samayik has come about in a very natural way. Arrange to sit in this samayik. It will dissolve everything, all traces of sexuality. You will have to do something about this huge tuber, won't you? You will have to remove all the diseases whilst Dada is here, won't you? Only 1 or 2 tubers are large, but would you not have to get rid of whatever they are? You have wandered for countless lives because of this disease of sex. The purpose of this samayik is to get rid of the persistent tuber of sex. This tuber gives rise to causes for sexuality in the next life, and therefore to get rid of this tuber, samayik is necessary.